we rolling? Hey everybody, this is Brantley from Smart Furniture, and I'm here today with Robert, and we are going to talk about the Eames lounge chair.
Thanks, Brantley. Yeah, so this is the famous Eames lounge chair, also known as the 670 chair, 671 Ottoman, designed by Charles and Ray Eames, introduced in 1956, actually introduced on the Today Show. That was a time when the release of a new lounge chair was a big deal and would make the news, but also because of who designed it, Charles Eames and his wife Ray, who were probably the most famous designers of the 20th century, maybe the most famous designers even to this day. It would be hard-pressed to find out somebody with more name recognition than Charles and Ray Eames.
That's really interesting. I guess let's start there. The Today Show, that's great information, and let's talk about the designer for a little bit. What's their story?
Okay, so Charles Eames, his background was architect, and Ray Eames was an artist. So you put them together and you get this great combination of somebody with Ray Eames, with really the artistic ability, her concept of organic style and that mid-century look, and Charles's his architecture background, so everything just being precision, the quality, the material, the design, the innovation, everything that goes into it. So you put those two together and you end up with the most iconic chair ever designed.
Well, let me ask you a question. So the design is iconic, famous designers. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it the designer's name that brought this to the forefront, or was it the actual design of the chair?
Well, it was a little of both. I don't think that this chair would have the longevity that it has now without the Eames name attached to it. Because
Gotcha.
like Eames, he had developed, so his career begins working for the US Navy designing leg splints and arm splints. And that's really where he begins this idea of process of molding plywood, which was still a relatively new material at that time. So heat and pressure over time, he could just mold plywood to any shape or style that he wanted. That caught the attention of Ray Eames, who was able to use those same techniques for sculpture and art and design.
Oh, cool.
And so you put them together, and his first real design, the Eames lounge chair, or the molded plywood Eames lounge chair, the LCW, which is the precursor to this, released in 1945-46, post-war. That chair was named the greatest design of the 20th century by Time magazine.
Wow.
So that's kind of, and so as those designs moved forward, he started working with molded plastics, molded fiberglass, different shapes, and then ultimately, basically, like you take all that experience and talent and skill, and what's the ultimate chair you can design, and this is what they came up with.
So the first chair was kind of a prototype, and then this was like the new and improved version,
Well,
or the brought to market version, maybe.
Right, they did their early molded plywood prototypes, but the first finished product, which designed at their offices in California, the Eames lounge chair, the LCW, that was really his first commercial chair.
All right, so we know that this is one of the most iconic chairs probably ever made. Where would we have recognized this, or where would we have potentially seen this chair?
Well, surprisingly enough, or maybe not surprising, Shark Tank is where that's a lot of people's first introduction to this chair. So at Smart Furniture, we get a lot of calls and requests like, what's the Shark Tank chair? I want this. And so they sit in these, and I believe the last time I don't watch Shark Tank much, but I think they use the white leather ones there.
Okay, I've never watched it. So the hosts sit in them, or
the host
Okay,
sit in these.
gotcha.
Right. So almost as an intimidation factor, like look at us in our Eames lounge chairs, like passing
Right.
judgment on you.
Right.
Another more pop culture is the show Archer, if you've seen that. So Mallory, she uses an Eames lounge chair as her desk chair, which is a little strange proportionally, like it's not really an office or desk chair, but
Right.
in the show, that's why she uses it. If you're a little older, you probably remember this chair from Frasier. So this was the chair that when Fraser Crane's father moves in with him, he moves this chair away and then brings in his ratty old recliner that he wants to sit in. So that's the whole thing, is like he doesn't want an Eames lounge chair. He wants his radial recliner. So
And that chair, the lounge chair goes away from most of the show.
it sits in the back. So it's in
Oh,
the
it's
back.
there. It's still in the
there.
show.
It's just
Okay,
sort of
gotcha.
like there's a little step up area, and the chair sits in the background. So through the whole run, the chair is just sitting there, but his old lounge chair is in the front.
And then at the very end, his dad's chair's gone, and he brings that back into place, I believe.
I think that's how it ended. Yeah, I would have to go back and watch.
And that's a
but-
pretty central character in that show.
Yeah.
And then, now, I saw, you may or may not have seen, but this chair or a version of it or a knockoff or something was also in the Matrix that came out this year, the fourth installation.
Yeah.
There were 2 chairs that they were sitting in,
Yeah. Yeah.
these chairs.
This is a go-to design. So any set designer, decorator, if they need that mid-century look or the mid-century vibe, or almost like a chair that carries a certain weight about it, this is your chair.
Yeah, it automatically brings like a retro feeling into the room.
Yeah, and a feeling of just like authority. Like some people like refer to this as like the architect's chair. So right.
Gotcha.
Or if you reach a certain station or position in life, this is what you treat yourself to, is an Eames lounge chair.
Right,
Yep.
got it, yeah. And it's an heirloom piece. Clearly it lasts a long time. It's been around for a long time. Is this basically the exact same design as the one that was released in 1950?
This is almost exactly the same design, but there have been small tweaks and changes over the years, but the portions of the chair have remained consistent. So
Okay.
obviously you don't want to get too far away from the original, or you start losing the original design intent of the piece.
Right.
Still, black leather is still the most popular, but you don't have to get it in black leather. You can do a mohair, this is a 2100 series leather. You can upgrade the leather if you want more soft Italian leather. You can do that, a prone leather. You can do fabrics, expensive. You can bring your own, you can have it upholstered any way you like. So
Really?
you can bring your own upholstery to it.
Wow.
So that's one, like originally, black leather, goose down cushions, that was all you got. They did away with the goose down. The goose down had a tendency to compress over time, and you would lose a lot of comfort with it. So now it's like a polyfill foam that ages a lot better. It's more supportive, lasts longer. It's just all around better fill material for time.
Got it.
The original shells, they would have been made of rosewood. Rosewood is an environmentally sensitive wood that's just decimated the rainforest to harvest Brazilian rosewood. So
Right.
starting in 91, they did away with rosewood. Now this chair is walnut, but you can have a palisander, which is a type of rosewood, so it gives you that rosewood look. You can do a white oak, a white ash. You can do an ebony. So there are a couple different veneer combinations you can have. Combine that with the leathers that you want, and kind of customize the look that you want for your space. But by far, black leather with a walnut or a palisander shell is the most popular.
And the base, is it always the same?
Base is always the same. That's a cast aluminum base.
Okay.
So yeah, and some of the construction of the chair has changed a little bit without changing the overall look of the chair. The shock mounts have been improved. The old ones had a tendency to delaminate and fail. So people used to say it's not if your shock mounts fail, it's when they're going to fail. And you would have the unfortunate situation where if one side, because the lumbar and the seat shell being combined hinged on this one shock mount, if only one turned loose and you were sitting in the chair, if it torqued that lumbar shell, it could crack it right down the middle.
Oh, right.
Essentially destroying this. These shells from Herman Miller, from the factory, are matched sets. So they would be all from one sheet of final veneer. So if you just slap another lumbar shell in there, it's not really going to match the other pieces. So, but the great thing is they've improved the shock mounts over time. So that's not going to happen now.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
you don't have to worry about that. That's a problem with some of the vintage chairs. If you have the vintage chair, make sure your shock mounts are well attached, because if you do have a failure, it can be catastrophic to the chair.
Okay. Okay, so this is all really, really good information. So I'm guessing if I'm purchasing this chair, you know, it's quite expensive. I would expect it to last the rest of my life, and probably something that my children would take after me. Are there any tricks to like keeping the chair nice, or do we have to take care of the leather in any special way?
Well, that's the great thing about all the improvements and changes they made is really it needs no care beyond just wiping it down with a lint-free cloth, maybe the leather with some very mild detergent or like ivory soap or something, just if there's any spills or marks on it. But the leather doesn't need any special care beyond that. You don't ever put any saddle soap or any harsh leather cleaners on it. That'll break down the leather over time and it won't age properly. The beauty of this chair is with time, the leather just looks better and better. So
Okay.
the more you have the chair, the better the chair is going to look. So you don't really need to mess with it to try to improve it in any way. Just let it be what it is. The same with the treatment on the shells and the veneer. It's like the older chairs, the vintage chairs, over time you would have to clean them in gun stock oil, and it was sort of a process to keep the wood and the laminates moisturized, if you will, or what have you, or clean. You don't have to do that anymore.
Okay.
Really, just buy it, enjoy it, pass it to your children. They can pass it to their grandkids. This chair, as it sits right now, this chair will be around and look great in another 70 years.
Yeah, it's a beautiful chair. All right, so there you have it. That's the story of the iconic Eames lounge chair and ottoman.